Hello everyone, Lid here. So this video will be about crop rotations. I'm doing 150 maps, 100 for the low budget and 50 for the high budget. And for the map, I'm doing Jungle Valley. This is because of the altars. In Jungle Valley, you're never going to get boss altars, so I'm having more chances to get the Quan altars. And Quan will increase your number of life force. For the map itself, chisel until 20%, and for the quantity at least 85%. And this is the standard map that I'm using across all my tests except for the div card. And if you can do 8 mod or T17, doing this on 8 mod or T17 will give you more life force. And for the scrap slots, I'm using harvest scrap of doubling. This is going to double the amount of life force. And I'm using 1 scrap of monster lineage. This will give me 40% increased magic pack size. And I'm also going to use 1 inflow scrap of horde. This will give me more altars and hopefully give me more quantity. And for the last 2 slot, I'm going to use sacrifice fragment just for some extra quantity. On the high budget versions, I will replace 1 sacrifice fragment with horn scrap of awakening. That will give us access to imbued harvest, and imbued harvest give us extra 50% chance for the other corpse not will. And this is the common combo with crop rotations. Now for the Atlas tree, this is the Atlas tree that I'm using. And this is for the low budgets and this is for the high budget. And the differences is just about the chance to spawn harvest, because on the high budget we are using horn scrap of awakening and we are using imbue harvest on the map device. So we do not need any chance to spawn harvest anymore. So I'm allocate all the point into Delhi, and basically you can allocate this point somewhere else. It doesn't really matter. The main strategy is about harvest, so you can allocate the rest of the point to something else like June or Halfa if you do it as a second mechanic. In this test, I'm using Delhi to farm some Delhi ords. And one thing I want to talk about the Atlas tree is this part over here. This is the setup that I'm using. Normally, people will use something like this, and they block 1 purple and 1 blue like this. When I try using this setup, I get a lot of maps that have like no yellow, so I end up not using this setup and I'm using this setup instead. This setup so far in 150 map, it works really well for me. So if you want to use the other setup, it's fine, but in this test, this is the setup that I'm using. And the rest of the tree is pretty self-explanatory. Altars for altars. Altars will give us more quan. You can choose blue, you can choose red, it doesn't really matter. Blue is a little bit better, but if your build cannot do blue, then you choose the red altars, and we take all the epic modifiers for increased quantity and pack size, and we take all the quan node and all the map node to help us sustain the maps. And that's about the Atlas tree. The next one, let's talk about the crop rotations. And the general rule for the crop rotations is number 1, you're always going to sacrifice blue and purple, and the target will be always yellow. And that's because yellow is the most expensive life force. So if you see anything with blue, purple, or blue, that usually will be your first target, and your last target will be something like yellow, blue, and yellow, purple. And that's generally how I do the harvest. Now, the problem will usually comes when you have to choose between blue and purple. There's a few ways you can choose. Number 1, you can look at the number, because sometimes you just don't have a choice. Let's say you have 1 purple and a lot of blue, or 1 blue and a lot of purple. In that case, you always have to choose the lot one, because you cannot empower the rest with only 1 plan, because you need to at least sacrifice 2 plan to get any tier 3. In that case, you will always choose the bigger number. So let's say that you have 1 purple and a lot of blue, you will always begin with blue, because begin with purple is not an option. And vice versa with the other color. The other way to choose this one is also looking at the last plot. If your last plot is yellow, then it doesn't really matter which one you begin with. You can sacrifice blue or you can sacrifice purple. Just be consistent about it. If your last plot is yellow and blue, you probably want to sacrifice purple. So in the end of the plot, you will have the blue and the yellow upgraded, because that is your last plot. That part I think is pretty straightforward. You can choose based on that. And another problem usually comes also when you have to sacrifice a plan. So let's, for example, something that I show you on the screen right now. 1 blue plan have 0 tier 3 and the yellow plan have 2 tier 3. The way I think about this one is basically like a system point. So basically every tier 3 plan will have 1 point. But if it's yellow, it will have twice the point, because yellow life force worth twice than the other color. And I know it's not twice. I know it's like 1.8 or 1.7, but just to make things easier, I usually just think of it as twice. So in this case, this is basically the yellow have 4 points and the blue have 0 points. So I have to sacrifice 4 points. So for me personally, 1 and 2 point is always yes. So I will always gamble, because based on my experience, 1 and 2 point, you always make it back. And when it comes to 3 and 4 point, it really depending on how much yellow plan you still have left. So in this case, I still have 3 yellow plans. So I will sacrifice the 4 point, because I still have a lot of potential at the end of the harvest. But if this harvest only have like 1 yellow plan, I will probably just take the yellow plan and just call it a day. And the main reason why I do not like to sacrifice diverse too much is because even if I choose yellow, I still have a chance for the blue to not wilted. And if the blue not wilted, I still can click the blue, I still can upgrade the rest of the harvest. So you actually not losing that much just because you don't want to take the gamble. And that's generally how I do the harvest. And you can go in the very gambly ways. I mean, if you're talking about pure number, it's probably better to just take the gamble all the way because odds to win is 60%. But personally, this is how I do all my crop rotations. And with that said, let's move into the spreadsheet so we can talk a little bit more about the numbers. And this is the spreadsheet. This one is for the low budgets and this one is for the high budgets. Now, let's talk about the low budget first. And I want to compare this average life force with the basic one. And we do get more life force over here, but I think this is also because we are clearing all the maps. So technically speaking, we do get more quan on this strat. But even if this is the same average number, or even like slightly lower, like let's say like 2,700 life force average, we're still going to get a lot more profit just because most of them will be yellow life force. And yellow life was worth a lot more. The low budget, I'm very happy with it. This result is better than I thought it will be. And because the cost to run is also pretty cheap, I really like the low budget one. And for the high budget ones, the problem I have with it is if you look at the diff per maps, is only 0.53. And the difference is not that much. And the main reason for this is because of the Conscript of Awakening. The price is really expensive. Like I put it here, I put a note over here, TLDR, Hornscrap of Awakening is too expensive and the price is still rising. I think when I do this test, I buy it at 180C per, and I think the price is still rising. And I think the price of the Hornscrap of Awakening is tied to Fractured Farms, and as far as I can remember, Fractured Farm is a lot more lucrative than Harvest, so I don't see the scraps going to go down in price. But just in case, if the scrap does go down in price, then the high budget become a lot more interesting. You can also argue if you see on the breakdown over here, like here you get a lot of divine, this one didn't. If I change this one into one divine, the difference in profit is still not that big. And when we're talking about high budget, especially with a budget like this, where you cost basically 1.1 divine per maps, your risk is also higher. So I do expect a lot more profit when we're talking about high budget. This kind of profit for me is way too close. And also for the map times, the crop rotations on the high budget takes a lot more times, especially when a lot of your crops is not wilted, because you do more harvest, then you will spend more times into the maps. So profit wise, I'm not very confident with this to begin with, but this test does confirm that the high budget with Hornscrap of Awakening is not that profitable. Maybe if you're running on T17 or 8 mod, maybe, but based on the data what I see right now, the result have to be a lot better in order for this one to look good. The profit is just way too low just because the cost is so high. For the gold, the high budget obviously going to get more gold because you do kill more monster, you kill more harvest, and the low budget version is still not bad, 17,000 compared to the basic, because basic I'm not cleaning the map, so obviously the gold won't be nice, but on the low budget versions, I do clear the maps, so the gold per map is actually pretty good. It's 17,000 per maps. This is all the breakdowns, and if you want to see all of this, the spreadsheet will be linked in the description below. And if you want to do harvest, this will be my recommendations. So I think that's all I have for you today. And if you guys have any questions, as usual, leave it in the comment below. I will try my best to answer it. So thank you everyone for watching. I will see you in the next one.